Good evening. The stray dog population menace has hit our cities once again, this time in Noida, which is in the Delhi National Capital Region, where a stray dog mauled and killed a 7-month-old baby inside a posh gated community. The child happens to be the child of a labourer who works in that compound, while residents of the community, some of them are visibly angry, as are ordinary residents of Delhi NCR. The question is also, if this were not a poor man's kid, wouldn't there have been outrage on the streets? Also, when will dog lovers accept the reality that some dogs are simply too dangerous and there is no place in a civilized society where a human being is killed at the hands of a rabid dog? But first, the story so far.
Massive protests in an apartment complex in Noida after a 7-month-old was mauled to death by a stray dog. The infant's parents are labourers and were doing construction work in the Lotus Boulevard Society. The baby was lying near them when a stray dog attacked the infant, even pulling out his intestines. The baby was rushed to hospital for emergency surgery, but he couldn't pull through. Now, residents have accused civic authorities of not doing enough to control stray dogs.
They are clearly angry with the Noida police and with the action which has not been taken by the Noida authority in the same, because continuously Noida has been in the reason for the dog attacks in the last few months now.
Noida authority officials have vowed to take stray dogs to shelters.
पहले हमने स्टरलाइजेशन शुरू किया, दूसरे पे फिर हमने ये शुरू किया कि अगर डॉग बाइट कोई डॉग जो है बार बार काट रहा है तो उसको जो है ले जाके शेल्टर होम में रखना और 1 महीने तक उसको सुधारना और उसके बाद वापस छोड़ना। चूंकि माननीय न्यायालय के ऐसी गाइडलाइंस हैं, हम कुत्ते को पूरी तरीके से कहीं से भी डिस्पोजेस नहीं कर सकते हैं।
But it's not just in Noida. Stray dogs are causing panic in Kerala as well. Multiple instances have come to light of stray dogs attacking bystanders, sometimes leading to deaths. So much so that the Kerala government has moved the Supreme Court seeking culling of dangerous strays. The news is not comforting when it comes to pet dogs either. Disturbing videos have come to light of pet dogs biting strangers in elevators in the presence of their owners. A kid in Ghaziabad got 150 stitches on his face after he was attacked by a pit bull in a park. Another scary video shows a pit bull clinging to a cow's jaws in Kanpur. So do we need stricter norms to deal with rise in dog attacks?
All right, is it time for stricter laws or perhaps even a relook at past judgments of courts, including the Supreme Court? Stray dog menace or mismanagement? You can call us at 01204341895. I want to bring in our guests who are joining us this evening on the show. Vaibhav Chibbar is the president of the Resident Welfare Association of Lotus Boulevard Society, where this latest case happened. Gauri Maulekhi is an animal rights activist. Dinkar Pandey is vice president of NEFOA. And Shahzada Sodhi is a dogophile. Let me start with Mr. Chibbar. You heard from the Noida authorities. They come to your society. They have made some assurances. They have said that treatment was meted out to this child. Unfortunately, the doctors could not save him. Are you satisfied with the response of the civic authorities, or do you believe that the civic authorities can do much more when it comes to the menace of stray dogs?
Thank you so much, but I'm not the president. I'm the resident of that place.
Okay, sure.
And we are absolutely satisfied. We are absolutely satisfied with the action plan, because when we complained about the incident, we had the authority guys coming, walking to the gate in next 1 hour. But the problem has been in our society for quite some time long, and we have been facing these problems. We have been raising complaints, but action on ground has not been taken on to the right time. So this time, because we lost a kid, we are all concerned about it, and we are really very, very in a sad situation, and we are trying to do whatever best is possible. Mm-hmm. But I think as citizens, we have to be more responsible in our action plan to how do we actually deal this menace, because there are court rules and there is a society and there are animals. So we need to find a midway where adjustments can be made and everybody can live in peace and harmony.
Okay, I want to ask Gauri Maulekhi, as per the animal birth control rules that were drafted by the centre a few years ago, It contravenes all state and municipal acts which mandate the removal of straying animals from streets and public places, both for the protection of people as well as animals. India has the highest number of rabies cases in the world. Around 33% of all rabies cases in the world happen in India, followed by Congo. According to a conservative WHO estimate, there are about 20,000 annual rabies deaths in India. Is it time, Gauri Molikhi, that we come together, sit down on the table and address this as a real problem, particularly in our urban centers? Why should 20,000 people die in our country because of rabies in this day and age?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. These are unnecessary deaths which can be prevented, and a regime had been brought in, recommended by the World Health Organization, which was adopted as a set of rules in India, not just a few years ago, but 22 years ago. The statutory responsibility of local authorities is to run a robust animal birth control program. If we just look at this incident that has happened in Noida very dispassionately and just to diagnose where and who went wrong, I'd say squarely it is the fault of the Noida authority. For the past 3-4 years, we've been telling them that the program is riddled with corruption, and hardly any sterilization is happening, and a lot of relocation is happening. People want dogs out of their societies. They're picked up and thrown somewhere else in some other locality where they fight for territory, and aggression gets aggravated. This is a result of exactly that. It was a ticking time bomb, very unfortunate and avoidable situation. Only if we learn to mend our ways now and run a proper, robust, scientific animal birth control program, and not probably go back to the municipal corporation law era of the British, when Indians and dogs and whatever were not allowed in certain areas, and that did not solve the problem. I mean, during the municipal corporation laws, when they were enforced, did that solve the problem of dogs? No, it did not. For centuries, it did not, which is why for developing countries that have an urban solid waste problem, there are scavenging animals, and to get rid of them, one has to apply science. You cannot have an eye for an eye and let's kill all the dogs right now, or let's remove them and put them in some shelters. It's not going to be scientific. Moreover, the rules provide that if a dog is aggressive, then in the animal birth control center, it can be put under observation, which where it can either die of rabies, or if it mends its ways.
But Gauri Molikhi, why then is in a country like ours, the estimate of the number of dogs that have been sterilized is less than 10% out of a possible 60 million dogs across the country? Less than 6 million have been sterilized. Surely then you would agree that there is a problem of non-sterilized dogs, and particularly in urban centers like Delhi NCR, or you saw what happened in Kerala a few months ago. If you have a large number of non-sterilized dogs out there, surely it's an invitation to kill.
Zero resources by the center towards the animal birth control program. Municipal corporation not even understanding their duty, let alone trying to implement it properly, and state governments not monitoring the animal birth control program as has been directed by the Honorable Supreme Court. These are the gaps.
Okay,
if only
I've got a bunch of callers. I want to go to them first, and then I'll go across back to the rest of our guests. Mr. Kulamani Mishra is calling us from Bhubaneswar. Mr. Mishra, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Go ahead with your question, yes.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead with your question, I can hear you.
Actually, this dog menace is very distressing. And in our colony also, it is a colony of 210 families. The pet dog kept by the owners or tenants is also highly distressing and disturbing. When we are going inside the lift, one dog is coming from top floor, and it harms the new entrant inside the lift. So this has to be stopped. There are new rules to be framed, wherein a dog time should be fixed, but from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., dogs can be allowed inside the lift. Other times, dogs should not be allowed inside the lift.
All right, let me also go across to our next caller. Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra. Vimla is calling us from Pune. Good evening, ma'am. Go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, just about the stray dogs, it has become a nuisance actually. In each and every corner of the road, minimum 7 dogs will be waiting there. And when we go, small children, behind our children, they are running and they are just getting injured. So I don't know what will be the solution for this. It should be stopped, because,
all right, thank you for your call. Harish is calling us from Chennai. Harish, good evening. What is your question, sir?
I don't have a question. I have a solution for your problems. See, I'm 60 years old. For the past 38 years, I'm training dogs, and I'm with dogs, and I handle very rough dogs. The problem I've seen in all these years, all these dog attacks started after you people started castrating the dogs. That is one of the worst things you should do. They get frustrated. Don't stop that first. Second thing, what I advise you people, whatever the government or whoever the authority is, let the dogs be allowed to mingle in the public, and let the children be trained on dogs and all this. Just a finger and your attitude can stop any dog from attacking anybody.
All right, Harish, thanks very much for that. Dinkar Pandey is Vice President of NIFOA. Shahzada Sodhi is also joining us. Dinkar Pandey, it comes back to the Animal Welfare Board of India, which has come up with rules which suggest that the victims in this case are really dogs. In fact, an AWI circular says that a person getting in the way of a dog can be perceived as an example of provocation. And citing these rules, oftentimes what happens is stray dog feeders frequently threaten residents, and therefore RWAs do not want to come in the way because they are often threatened with an FIR for criminal intimidation. Is it time that these rules are changed, Dinkar Pandey?
Yeah, right. And I'll talk about more comprehensive way, because everyone is talking about problem, right? Nobody is talking about impact. I'll cite some examples. There were some dogs in nearby society, I'll name it in Fusion, some time ago. And by the time authority catches it, it took toll of at least 8 residents. Recently, one lady was attacked by a group of dogs, and she was not provoking. She was mature enough and fit enough. She got spinal cord injury, and she's on verge of losing her job. People, I'll take example. Even my kid got attacked by cord, bitten from back, and she lost school for so many days. We are not talking about impacts. See, strays are not here to stay in your home, right? There are certain other spaces for them. We all are saying that dogs and men can go together. We are talking about dogs' rights. We are not talking about men's rights, human rights, right?
Okay.
In society, if you are going to parking, a group of dogs starts barking and charging towards you. How much capable you are to fight all those attacks together, right? So all the animal lovers should understand that we also are animal lovers. We are not against. But then there should be rules framed, and not only framed. There are so much rules by authorities, by Supreme Court, by government. But how many are being implemented on ground?
No, in fact, some are arguing that the rules are also coming in the way. The rules are also a problem, as indeed judgments laid out by the Delhi High Court and the Supreme Court. Let me ask Shahzada Sodhi this. In fact, earlier this year, in May of 2022, the Supreme Court, a 3-judge bench, had vacated a stay on a Delhi High Court order which said that stray dogs have a right to food and water and citizens have the right to feed them, which basically means it paves the way for community dogs to be fed either at private driveways or porches or spots that are designated in consultation with RWAs, which means it is incumbent on the local police to ensure that no caregiver or community dog feeder is harassed. Now, if these are the rules, if these are the judgments of the court, then surely, like I said, it's an invitation for these strays to kill.
First of all, it's very unfortunate that has happened in Noida. And the second thing is, as an animal lover, as a feeder, I feed dogs every day. And I'm also harassed every day by the public and the people where I go and feed. But over the years, I have understood that I have to make the changes. How can I feed the animals? And I'm not against the people as well. So I've chosen times and places where animals can be fed in a separate area or closer to the grounds or closer to the main road. So it doesn't get into the way of the people that are staying there. But if you say that you cannot have dogs in the public places, then where will they go? It has to be, you have to make animal feeders the stakeholders in all these things. But we are harassed in a lot of ways. It's only when it goes beyond a point that we go and file an FIR or we ask our people to come with us and to help us out. But it's very rare. It's most of the time 10 after 9 out of 10 people are harassing animal feeders, to be
No, but Mr. Sodhi,
honest.
what will you say to the family that lost the 7-month-old child today?
It's
you're
very sad.
saying that dogs have to have rights to public places just like humans do. But what about modern cities across the world? You don't see stray dogs in New York or in London.
But
obviously, somebody is taking care of these strays. It's not like there are no strays in those cities. The point is, are we going to develop those facilities for strays in our country, or are we just going to say they have as much right to public places as we do?
No, I'm not saying. It's very sad that the family has lost a child. I'm not saying that it happened. It shouldn't have happened. But in India, it's not New York or London. Now, we should first even think of this. India is not New York or London, that you are comparing our cities, our towns with those cities. I'm only saying that the animal feeders, because the blame is always put on animal feeders. In the last 10, 15, 20 years, I have understood that I need to make changes in the way I feed or I take care of the dogs.
Okay.
You have to select a place because wherever you start feeding the dogs, they feel that it is their territory. So anybody who comes there, they feel threatened, and whatever aggression is there. And obviously people also abuse the animals. So it's both ways, but in a way, animal feeders should also take care the way they feed the animals. And if they find that certain
I'm sure all of us are accustomed to scenes of dogs being fed right in front of society gates.
That is not correct.
And that is where the problem is, that if you are going to feed dogs right outside society gates, they're going to think that is their turf, and they're going to do whatever it takes to protect that turf. No, absolutely. So let me get some more callers in, please, because I think our viewers across the country, whether it is in gated communities or outside urban centers, seem to have very, very strong opinions on this. Let me get Aarti from Noida. She's our next caller. Aarti, good evening, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I find it very, I am also an animal lover. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it is just not acceptable because either the government should own up the responsibility. If they are not ready to make any laws against it, then they should own up all these strays and make some kind of a shelter home.
Correct.
Where they can be left there. And what is there, this concept of territory? I mean, they have a territory, but human beings don't have a territory, which is very strange. I don't understand what emotional stress they will go through if they don't have a territory. I mean, we have more than 100 residents in our society who have been affected by their constant biting, sometimes dread even sending their kids to the society parks because these suddenly they come chasing. And I heard on one of the channels, one lady was saying that an activist, then they vaccinated and they are neutered. We've done everything possible for that. And in fact, they are very, on sometimes they become so hostile to the kids and a person who just goes little slow and the people who have pets, they just, the smaller pets are attacked by some 6-7 of these strays sometimes at one time.
Okay, Aarti, thank you for your call. Let me also go across to Usha from Chennai who's calling us. Good evening, Usha. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening. So I'm just watching your news. See, what I would like to say is, yes, as many people have just said, that human and dogs, the animals have to live together in society, no doubt. But then one major problem I find with many of these residents, I think people have to be more responsible also. Because they are dog lovers, of course, I understand. But the way they feed the dogs, outside in the society, outside the residence gate, on the road, behind, parked cars. I think these things should be avoided. We have to be more responsible. You please feed the dogs as someone says, at designated places.
Correct.
Or in your porch. Or maybe in your courtyard, but not on the streets, behind parked cars and all that.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much for your call. Retired Wing Commander Chandranshek Khar is also calling us. Wing Commander, go ahead, please, sir.
Yeah, Zakka, thank you very much. Kindly give me 3-4 minutes so that I want to say what I wanted to complete it. First of all, Zakka, I wanted to say that the animal welfare people are all fooling the public and to a certain extent fooling the judiciary also, by telling that most of the dogs are all vaccinated, they are all taken care of, and they are looked after well. Zakka, these stray dogs, the life is 15 years to 20 years for each dog. Okay? Even if you vaccinate the dog, these dogs, the present population of 4 million dogs, are going to live with us for next 15 to 20 years. This is an undisputed fact. Okay, and then let us say I stay in Noida, and this is a big colony of about 3,000 flats. Okay, even if you take 10% of them, 300 people, let's say just the number of states, 300 people are feeding these dogs wherever they feel like, whenever they feel like. Okay, now these dogs are fed so much.
Okay.
They are so fat, and they are so bulky, and they have so much of energy, there is no way of spending it out. Okay, and also I'm sorry to say, Supreme Court and other court orders are also astute. They, in the defense forces, they always say, if you give an order, it should be feasible. It should be enforceable. Now the Supreme Court order says that you have to feed only in a particular place. You have to feed only at a particular time.
Yes.
Is it possible in a colony of 2,000 people, 3,000 flats, where about 5,000 to 6,000 people living, they just come out and throw the food anywhere they feel like? Who is going to police them?
Okay,
Who is
Wing Commander,
going to
thank you
check
very
them?
much for your call. Let me also get in Manoj, who's our next caller. He's calling us from Delhi. Yes, Manoj. Yes, Mr. Manoj, go ahead.
Chandrasekhar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacob, hi. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I'm very disheartened to see that the law, which is very clearly written, which is very clearly there, that people should feed the dog at a designated place, it is hardly followed by the citizens.
Okay.
And it is not the police, not the authority, but the citizens which are making mockery of these rules. And the so-called animal activists and NGOs, they are the people, who are, creating nuisance.
All right.
Being
Thank you
a
very
lawyer-
much for your call. Let me ask Gauri Molekhi to respond to that. You heard a sampling of callers who are all saying that the problem is with the people who are feeding these strays. You go back to the Supreme Court rulings, it's very clear that it has to be in designated places. And you know from the experience that all of us have seen over the years, and particularly so during the pandemic and after, that, anywhere and everywhere the strays are fed. And that's the problem.
Okay, so I'm going to make 4 short points. One is that the rules are not made by the Animal Welfare Board of India. They're made by the central government and the parliament, right? So these are not rules that have just come up because people like dogs. They're based on the WHO's approved program for all developing countries which are facing with a solid waste problem. We are not New York. Please don't compare us with New York. We are people who throw garbage in front of our homes. We have tons of garbage in our urban centers, and hence there are scavenging animals. You remove them in a Chairman Mao removing sparrow kind of way, and we'll call some natural calamity upon ourselves, like China gave itself the world's biggest famine. So we have to be scientific when we deal with animals. We cannot have these knee-jerk, unscientific, whimsical solutions for stuff. So that's my point number 1. The second is that feeding animals has its own benefits. If there are dogs in the neighborhood and if they are fed, they remain friendly, and it's easier to catch them for sterilizing and neutering them, and for various rounds of vaccination that happens later. It's not nice to have scared, ferocious dogs in the neighborhood which are sick, and then it would spread more diseases and more threat of bites. Better to have designated places where animals are fed. Surely there should be discipline in that. Surely the Delhi High Court order has repeatedly said that feeding areas should be designated, and anybody who feeds animals on staircases or in front of gates or in parks is not correct. And it should be regulated. But I think the larger responsibility, statutory responsibility, falls on the local authorities to run a robust animal birth control program. Wherever we see it being run, it is riddled with corruption, or it's done in a haphazard, patchworky manner, no strategy, no application of mind. If you look at Goa, you were talking about rabies. Look at Goa since 2017, there's no rabies over there at all because of a proper animal birth control program that was being run over there. Same with Jaipur or Chennai. The rabies cases have completely gone because they run a proper animal birth control program. Now, Uttarakhand has done the same. Lucknow has a very good animal birth control program, but Noida authorities are rogue because it doesn't come under the urban development department, industrial development or whatever. So they have their own little problems due to which animal birth control takes a very low priority, and they only realize it when an unfortunate incident like yesterday comes up.
Okay,
So
let me get more
we can
callers
blame
in, ma'am.
feeders and civic
Rennie
society
Abraham
and whatever.
is joining us from Mumbai. Rennie Abraham, go ahead, ma'am. Sorry, Rennie, go ahead. Yes.
Zakka, I would like to cite here that we are actually trying to talk about a problem that keeps arising as and when there is an attack on a citizen. Correct. And things like that. The real solution seems to be something like setting up a helpline which will help identify. I mean, at an instant, there would be enough number of people calling in and saying, look, there is a local dog over here which is ferocious. It has got a history of attacking people, and trying to discriminate such stray dogs, because, just a old editorial thing of, when in doubt, cut it out is not the solution. But it would be more logical to have this. I mean, we have that for man-eating tigers. There is a process when there is too much of a conflict. So that is a simple thing. And secondly, the whole ecosystem that is existing in terms of, taking care of stray animals and all, it seems to have been totally bogged down or not functional at all. And the BMC, it's like a job the civic corporations do it like. Not with a laser-focused, targeted approach to ensure the problem is sorted out.
Okay, Rennie Abraham, thank you for your call. I've got a couple more callers, and before we close the show, Inder is calling us from Gurugram. Inder.
Good evening, Zakka.
Good evening.
Sometime back, I was in Kashmir and traveling in my car. At least 20, 30, or almost 50 dogs attacked the car. I don't understand why these dog lovers simply talk about the love of dog, but human being has no right at all. It is so frightening when we are safely inside the car. I'm not talking about you're walking. People could not be walking on those streets at all. And I'm talking Srinagar proper, in a place called Batmalu, when I found that almost 50 dogs attacking one single car.
Sure.
It's so frightening. And then recently I heard a boy in Kupwara in Kashmir Valley was killed by a stray dog on the road. Why the hell in this country we should be full of stray dogs, whereas no other country or advanced countries don't have stray dogs?
All right, Inder, thank you for your call. Let me get a last couple of more callers. I'm completely running out of time. Amitabh is calling us from Noida. Amitabh, good evening, sir. Mr. Amitabh, are you there? All right, Vijay Singh from Noida is our last caller. Vijay Singh.
Yeah, Zakka, actually this talk about strays harming individuals or human beings, I think there are more cases of murders and rapes in this country. And what do you expect, that we stop people from going out or something like that? I mean, dogs are maybe 1 in a million that you hear these cases of people getting bitten, and you make such a hoo-ha about it. All your media channels go on as if the world has come to an end. It's so sad. These poor creatures, they just manage to survive on the streets. And these activists who are anti-animals or hate animals, they go on and talking about 50 dogs attacking them in the car and all that. I mean, this is quite ridiculous of all this.
All right, Vijay Singh, thank you for your call. I'm going to give Dinkar and Webb the final word. Dinkar, the Delhi High Court had ruled recently that animals have a right under the law to be treated with compassion, respect and dignity, and that their protection is the moral responsibility of each and every citizen. What about the rights of those... let me ask Dinkar, please. The rights of the 7-month-old baby who died today, who was mauled. Does he or she not have any rights?
With due respect to all the judgments and everything, I think we all are forgetting about human rights, right? And there is one famous politician around. And if you stop someone from feeding inside society, in your parking, in your basement, then that lady calls everyone and threatens about FIR and consequences. These kind of things are going on, right? Rules are on paper. On ground, nothing is there. Authority helplines are not working. The NGOs partnered by them are not coming to sterilize or vaccinate or anything. On ground, situation is worse than what it is being depicted.
All right.
If you live in any society around the newly developed area, strays are all over. They are attacking Delhi. It is not coming in newspaper daily, right? But in media, things come only when such unfortunate incident happens, like
Correct.
yesterday. Right?
Okay, we'll
But
leave
we
it
are
at that.
facing it
Dinkar Pandey, Vaibhav, Shahzada, and of course Gauri Mauluki for joining us. This is a continuing problem. Today it was seen in Noida. We had pictures a few days ago from Kerala. This is a problem that our urban planners, our civic authorities, even our animal lovers have to come to terms with and have to deal. Yes, the court has laid down guidelines that there should be designated places that these strays should be fed. But are we following that? Who is implementing that? Who is regulating that? These are questions that are worth asking. That's a wrap. Thank you for your time.